There's this old saying, welcome to the jungle. And unfortunately, the New Jersey Devils had a rude welcoming in game one of the first round against the New York Rangers, dropping it at home by a score of 5-1. Jersey Joe is going to join me on today's episode as we're going to break down our frustrations, what we saw during the course of the game, and what the Devils need to do in order to turn around come game two if they want to maintain home ice advantage. Lots to talk about in today's episode of Locked On Devils. Buckle up, everybody.
You're Locked On Devils, your daily podcast on the New Jersey Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, this is Bryce Salvador, and you're Locked On Devils with Trey Matthews.
Elliott scores! Oh, Stevens stepped up, nailed it. Brodor's got the puck. What a shot. The Devils win the Stanley Cup.
All righty now, what is up, New Jersey? Welcome back to the Locked On Devils podcast here on Locked On Network. I'm your host, college hockey play-by-play announcer, Devils writer for Pucks and Pitchforks, and also part-time credentialed media member Trey Matthews. Joined alongside Jersey Joe, my colleague over at Pucks and Pitchforks, and also the host of Heads Up Hockey podcast. Jersey Joe, it's been a while since you've been on the show. We were going to get you back on during the course of the playoffs, and game one in the books for New Jersey Devils in the first round against the New York Rangers. And unfortunately, welcome to the jungle. And they got absolutely mauled by the New York Rangers. So, Jersey Joe, how
you know who got even more mauled was the Toronto Maple Leafs, if that makes you feel any better.
It doesn't. I'm focusing on the Devils and the Rangers. So, look, I'm not locked on Lightning. I'm not locked on Leafs. I am locked on Devils, and my team still lost, so it does not make me feel better.
Our team lost,
so it doesn't.
I just thought I'd put it in perspective.
So it doesn't make me feel better, but I did say Devils in 6, but
I did too.
Okay, so they still got one game to work with. So the thing is like they got to win the next game, which is on Thursday, I believe. So you got to win that one. Otherwise, you lose home ice advantage. But then again, the Devils do have a better record on the road. But still, it's just like this game was ugly. Like this was the worst I've ever seen the Devils play in a long time. From start to finish, there were barely any positives. At least they didn't get shut out. That's the only thing I could say. But before we talk about the game, you wanted to talk about some of the articles that were written at Pucks and Pitchforks, a site that you and I write at. So some game stuff. So I saw some of the articles you released, but like, what were you thinking going into the game? Because let's talk about some of your articles.
Well, first off, I always tell people, just because other teams have more playoff experience doesn't always mean it is the come all and all. Like, for instance, you could be the top dog, like back in 2012. Yeah, you could have the least amount of experience, but you could have more firepower and better goaltending and come out winning the rest of those 4 games. If I go back 10 plus years, 11 years ago, the Devils would lose the first game of every series before the Stanley Cup final. And it's like, okay, so what? They lose the first, but they're going to win the next 4. So what? That's what I call the jitter game. And the Devils failed the jitter game, but they're getting those jitterbugs out of the way.
Yeah, so I think I tweeted that out during the course of period number 1. The New Jersey Devils, they just looked very flustered. They looked very nervous. I thought it would go away as the game progressed, but you could just see they were not playing their normal style of hockey. There was like no momentum going their way. They were getting shut down. They didn't get their first shot on Shesterkin until more than halfway done with period number 1. And they had 4 power play opportunities. You know how many shots they had on those power plays? 0. Unacceptable. Now, the first one, I was like, okay, even though they didn't get a shot, I like the execution. Seems like they're keeping the puck in their offensive end. Obviously, I always said the power play has a lot of potential. And one of the things I've been raving about is the improvement of the power play, because just a few weeks ago, just like a month ago, they were ranked 18th in the entire league for power play success rate. And then come the end of the year, they're ranked 13th. So you saw the improvement. However, in this game, they took a couple steps backwards. They played worse than an 18th tier power play team. So that can't happen, because it's one of the things I've been talking about, which is going into the postseason. I was like, The best of the best are not going to give you any room to try to work with. You got to capitalize on the opportunities that are being given to you. And what makes matters worse is that the New Jersey Devils, they gave up 2 power play goals to the Rangers, and the Rangers had 3 opportunities.
And 2 of those come from Kreider. And those are what I call the cheapy goals. And those are the goals that you would love to have back. And you know what? Lindy Ruff made a huge mistake not allowing his defensemen to be more physical and engaged in protecting the high danger area, which is where the Rangers during the regular season struggled against the Devils. In the playoffs tonight, they did just the opposite. And you can't let someone go from low danger shot distribution to allowing a redirect twice right on your doorstep. You can't do that.
Absolutely not. So, and to make matters worse, I lost my bet tonight. I had the under for Vitek Vanacek saves, which was 26.5. He had to save 18. I had the over for Timo Meyer hits with 2.5. He had 5. But I had the more for 6.5 shots on goal between Zibanejad and Hughes. And right now it says 0. And it was, I said more 6.5. So make matters worse, I lost my bet because I said all 3 have to hit. But anyway.
Parlay.
Yeah, I don't know why I get greedy, but
it's the playoffs. You're gonna have to get a little greedy.
Anyway, this game for the Devils, like I said, it was one of their worst showings of the season. And other than the penalty shot from Jack Hughes, the Devils were on the verge of getting shut out. They made a desperation move to pull Vanacek from the game when there was like 2.5 minutes remaining. But even then, there was no way they could make the comeback. You just knew going into the third period that the Devils weren't going to win. Because my thing was like, if they would have scored like late in period number 2 or early on in period number 3, I would have given them a chance. But I felt like the Devils didn't give themselves a chance. I felt like the only person who was really there and really making an effort to try to lead the Devils out of the gutter was Nico Hischier. And I said in one of my more recent episodes that Hischier is my MVP for the Devils during the course of the playoffs. He's the one that's going to be the anchor on the offensive side of things. He's the one that's going to create for like Tomas Tatar, Dawson Mercer. Hischier's also going to try to generate offense for himself. And I saw that from Hischier, especially in period number 2. But it was just like, other than Hischier, who's helping out the Devils in that sort of way? Like who's making that aggression to try to find one past Shesterkin?
I honestly believe that when Lindy shortens a lineup during the regular season, it works in some ways, but in the playoffs, you can't really do that. And I'm not a fan of it in the playoffs because you're stealing away the mentality of your guys' ability to play their game. And it's like saying you're good enough to make the roster right now to play on the playoffs, but I don't quite trust you guys. So to me, you either play those guys more or you replace them with either a Curtis Lazar or Igor Sharangovich. And if you want to add a little extra firepower on your defense, you want to add another Hughes, you insert them. And I say, screw it. Let the Rangers get a taste of 2 Hugheses and get really scared because they can't handle one.
Well, they kind of handled Hughes in this game. Like I said, other than the penalty.
Kinda is not did.
Okay, I'll give you that. Okay, so this kind of leads into the next topic, which is let's look at players who were scratched in this game. So Mackenzie Blackwood was scratched, which I'm glad Lindy Ruff finally came to his senses and decided to make Akira Schmidt the backup, because after that outing against the Washington Capitals, Mackenzie Blackwood pretty much lost his spot to be given a chance to be on the bench during the course of the playoffs. I feel like for that game, especially with how well Akira Schmidt played in relief, I felt like Mackenzie Blackwood, I think his days as a Devil are pretty much gone. They're outnumbered. I think he's out for all the time.
If I could make a Western reference, he's pretty much Deadwood. Deadwood
Yes.
walking the plank.
So that's going to be an interesting topic to discuss during the course of the offseason, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Luke Hughes was scratched. Curtis Lazar was scratched. Brendan Smith was scratched. Yegor Sharangovich was scratched. So you mentioned, and we talked about this in a DM, which is you wanted to see Luke Hughes play in this game. And you mentioned it saying like they can't handle two Hughes brothers. But my thing is, I said in a more recent episode, do you really want to throw Luke Hughes into the pack of wolves right away? Are you serious? Look, he had a great first couple of games. I'm not going to deny that. But it's just like, isn't that taking too far of a step kind of thing? I already think they took too big of a step by signing him to his entry-level contract, burning his first year, only giving him a couple of games to showcase what he can do. And yes, he had a great game against the Washington Capitals in which he was able to score the game-winning goal in overtime. But in the playoffs, it's a different animal. And are we really going to throw the kid into the fire? Because Lindy Ruff didn't play Luke Hughes when the Devils went against the Boston Bruins. And like I said, because I don't want that kind of pressure on Luke Hughes, I just don't know how big of an impact he'll truly have. My thing is like, play him when it's dire, when you're desperate, when you absolutely have no other choice. Because like if the Devils go down 3-0, God forbid, then by all means, like do something out of desperation. But my thing is like, I just don't want to put that pressure on Luke Hughes. I just don't know if he's ready for playoff hockey.
Well, first off, he's coming off from the Frozen Four, and then he just
Frozen
had
Four is way different than the NHL.
I know. I'm just saying he's been playing at a high level of hockey. From that level, he's moved on to the highest league in the NHL world and in all of hockey. So really, I mean, you might as well let him get a little bit loose and let him raise some hell. And I mean, look, that Hughes family produces a lot of very poised young men, and they are very good at being very elusive. And once they get really going, it's hard to contain them. And Luke is very good at retrieving pucks in his own end, and he's ahead of that bell curve from what Quinn had. And to me, he's going to be even better than Quinn. So let me throw that there. The Rangers are not anywhere good as close as the Boston Bruins. The Boston Bruins are going to sweep Florida.
I mean, I'm not denying Luke Hughes' ability. I'm not denying his like potential or anything. I just don't want to put that kind of pressure on him at this stage when it's not necessary, at least in my eyes. But while we're on the topic of people who need to be scratched, a lot of people are hoping that Miles Wood becomes a healthy scratch in the next game, and you're for that. So let's talk about that one, because Miles Wood got a penalty in period number 1. He got a holding call against Panarin, and unfortunately, that did result in a power play goal for Kreider. So you're all for benching Miles Wood in replace for Yegor Sharangovich.
Okay, first off, I've had the past couple of seasons, I had enough of this guy. I wanted him gone. I want him jettisoned on another island. I want Curtis Lazar. He's been in the playoffs. He's been with teams like Boston. He's been with the Canadian teams in the playoffs. He knows what chaos is. He hits, he blocks, he fights, he does a little everything. He wins faceoffs. He is excellent when it comes to denying zone entries and retrieving pucks. He may not be the sexiest player. He's a freaking mastermind of a Sasquatch. You want. I mean, how good is Michael McLeod going to play with freaking Deadwood on his side?
I mean, I agree with you. I think Curtis Lazar definitely deserves to be given a chance at least, because his 51.9% face-off win percentage ranked second on the Canucks, and he was third in hits with 124. So if that was to translate over to the Devils at the time when he was traded, he would have led the Devils in that category. His hit total and block shots, 49, were second amongst Canucks forwards. So when the Devils got him, I was like, you need to insert this guy into the lineup. So that was someone
immediately.
who I didn't consider that could replace Miles Wood. I think the only concern that Lindy Ruff has is that unfortunately Curtis Lazar just hasn't been here because he's had visa issues. His wife went into labor I'm not too long ago.
Yeah,
Recently, like
during the trade deadline.
What do you say?
Around the trade deadline.
Around the trade deadline. Yeah, Ryan Novozinski released an article about that, covering it.
We love you, Novo.
We do love you, Novo. I hope to have him on the show real soon. We're in talks of doing that. But yeah, and also he was injured for a good amount of time. So unfortunately, he hasn't been able to form that chemistry. But I literally just said the block shots, the hits, the face-off percentage, everything you touched on, and I just repeated it courtesy of the Devils PR team when they sent it to the media members in regard to like what to expect from Curtis Lazar. I totally agree with you. And when I spoke to Curtis Lazar, he said he brings meat and potatoes type of hockey. And we saw
Sasquatch meals.
We saw that in the final game of the year against Washington Capitals. So in terms of benching Miles Wood, I people were wondering, like, and I did an episode centered around this a few weeks ago. Why is Miles Wood starting in favor of Yegor Sharangovich? And I said, for Yegor Sharangovich, unfortunately, he's wildly inconsistent. You can't put him on, if you put him on Hischier or Hughes' line, sometimes he can produce, sometimes he won't. He's not consistent, similar to like what Dawson Mercer was able to do when he was put onto Hischier's line. So I was like, and if you take away his goal scoring ability, Yegor Sharangovich isn't going to provide all that much. But for Miles Wood, he brings the grit, he brings the determination. However, I think Curtis Lazar, while he's not really a capable goal getter, similar to what Miles Wood has been. You know, Miles Wood has never been a goal getter, but he's better than Curtis Lazar in my eyes. Like we saw it like a couple years ago when Miles Wood, I believe, was tops on the Devils in most goals of the season. I believe that was during the 2021 COVID year. So Miles Wood and Pavel Zacha, they were racking up the goals for New Jersey. But anyway, digressing a little.
Digressing from Miles Wood, he hasn't been successful as a playoff guy, just to be fair. And I'd rather take Curtis Lazar over him, and I would rather let Lazar run loose, no pun intended, but you need to allow a different veteran to get out there and add those hits, blocks in those amount of games. That's called your SID rate. And if you allow those guys to get in the way of the Rangers and add in some advantages physically, you can shake them up. And the Rangers look a little shook up before they started those last couple of goals. And also, like, when the Devils expand the bench, they do far better. As for Yegor Sharangovich, I'd rather him be that true penalty killer any moment, because he's capable of sniping that puck in the corner. And for some reason, he does better against someone from the KHL. Why is that? Yegor played for Dynamo Minsk in Belarus, and you had Shesterkin playing the KHL against one of the other Top Gun teams. So I think there's a KHL effect there, and the Devils need to factor that in.
Well, we'll see. Obviously Shesterkin is just, he was in the MVP running last year for a reason. I know sometimes he's had his not so good moments during the course of the year, but
You mean Jekyll and Hyde?
But
or is he Boris Yeltsin, or is he Vladimir Putin?
Okay, you're gonna get me in trouble now.
Nah, that's not trouble.
Okay,
it's just the way he's thinking.
Anyway, as I was saying, Shesterkin is just, he's going to handcuff the Devils. I said it when I was talking to John Chick of Locked On Rangers, which was like, I expect for Igor to just, play really well in the net. And unfortunately, the Devils did get robbed a couple times. They did get robbed because when James Nichols put out his deserve to win-o-meter, it wasn't as lopsided as I anticipated. So that's what kind of surprised me. So it shows me that the Devils, they did have their moments. They did have their opportunities. However, they just fell kind of short because according to the deserve to win-o-meter, if the simulation was done X amount of times, then the Rangers win 54.3% of it. and the Devils win 45.7% of the other time. So it goes to show you that it was kind of there. It was there. But unfortunately, the Devils just like they just had no momentum going their way, which raises the next question. How concerned are you for the Devils going into game number 2? Because I think that's a must win for them. Because look, I know they do well on the road. I'm not concerned about that, but you don't want to go down 0-2 going into enemy territory. Now, do you?
Well, I still have my worries, but I still find the Rangers to be very cocky going into game 2, which is going to bite them.
I'm hearing it from the Rangers fans right now. Man, I can't like
you see that fan base, no matter how good or how bad they do around their team, they're always going to talk like Gilbert Gottfried all they want. It doesn't mean anything unless you hoist the cup. I don't care. Say what you want, do what you want. As long as I get an email from corporate, I'm happy.
Yeah, so we're definitely hearing it from the Rangers fans. I think what the Devils need to do, I don't think this loss is on Vitek Vanecek. He didn't have a good outing, but stick with Vitek Vanecek in my eyes, because I think it's in the best interest for the Devils to stick with Vitek Vanecek, get Curtis Lazar into the lineup somehow, some way. Consider scratching Miles Wood. I think I would agree with that, because you can replace, because when I did that episode surrounding Sharangovich and Wood, Lazar was still hurt. He was still injured, so he wasn't an option. But now you have that option of going to a backup, gritty type of player, or that Sasquatch player on the forward pairing like you talked about. So consider now I say this, you can consider scratching Miles Wood and getting Curtis Lazar, because Lazar, he's not going to score. That's not his job. But I think he could do something more efficiently compared to Miles Wood. So in that case, I'm okay with it. But in terms of getting Sharangovich and replaced for Miles Wood, I don't really think so. But yeah, this game was pretty ugly. And the Devils you got to get a damn shot on your power play. You got to get at least one. That's unacceptable. So 4 power play opportunities, 4 times 2, 8 minutes on the man advantage, and you couldn't get one shot on Shesterkin during that. That's unacceptable.
Now, here's something unorthodox that we haven't seen in years. Wouldn't it be interesting if the Devils started their 4th line with a couple of Sasquatches and goons and started a opening brawl?
No,
just to shake up the Rangers.
No.
Wouldn't that be interesting?
No.
To shake them up.
No.
You got to stir the pot, because the Rangers are feeling cocky right now. You got to get them on their heels.
No.
You got to get them.
No, I know you got to get them. I'm not denying that. But I don't think that's the time or place to do it. Like, look, we've seen it before. I've had Cam Jansen on this show, and he shared an infamous story when he had to go toe-to-toe with Wade Belak. But at the same time...
But he wasn't going up against Wade Belak. He and Carter were going up against Rupper and Prust.
Well, no. I was referring to a time when Cam Jansen had to go up against Wade Belak when the Devils were in Toronto. I was just saying, like, we've seen it happen before. But at the same time, it's just like it's not necessary. I just don't think you need to do that. I think if you're down like 3-0 or something like that, then by all means, you do something, do whatever, do anything out of desperation. But don't. You're not sinking. You're not sinking. You're down 0-1, but I did say Devils in 6. Win the next game, go to enemy territory at Madison Square Garden, and then we'll see what happens for game 3 and 4. But for game number 2, you're still at the Prudential Center. You're still at the Rock. Just, what to do. Look, the Devils have an ability to try to bounce back from adversity during the course of the year. We've seen it. We saw it during the month of December when they were treading water. We saw it early on in the season when they lose back-to-back after the first 2 games of the year. So they know how to bounce back from adversity. So showcase that in the playoffs. That's my thing.
My thing is they got to get out and blitz the hell out of the Rangers. And the Rangers, if you looked at that Jacob Trouba trip for that penalty shot, once you get that puck loose, they can't stop you unless they hook you. And that's a good thing. That's what I talked about earlier on my podcast about drawing positive penalties, not negative penalties. And the problem is with this team is they're starting to shoot the puck more. They just haven't found the right seams to get it through on net. So if I'm speaking proper English to those who speak the language of hockey, you know what it means to get through the passing lanes and finding a shooting lane. And they're beginning to find the shooting lanes and just haven't been able to get it off quicker.
Right. But I still believe in the Devils. And we saw Nico Hischier lead by example. He led by example in this game, even though it didn't result in anything. But Jack Hughes, sometimes he was there, sometimes he wasn't. There were a couple times where I'm like, Jack, shoot that. Stop passing. Shoot it. Be selfish. Like, shoot it.
It's the playoffs. You got to be more selfish.
Yeah, I know. Shoot the damn puck. That's what I was telling when Jack Hughes was in his rut. I don't care if it doesn't find the back of net. I don't care if Igor robs you. Just shoot the puck. That's what I want.
You might over pepper a goaltender to the point that they miscalculate, and that's what you want.
Right. Don't worry, there's still more to break down with Jersey Joe. But before we continue, I want to tell you about a partner that I use literally every day, and it's called Athletic Greens. I started taking AG1 because I wanted to be happier. I wanted to be healthier. So what is this stuff? With one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source, superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging, all those things. Its lifestyle is very friendly. Whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free, contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything, while still tasting good, supports better sleep quality, and recovery, supports mental clarity and alertness. It's one thing that's best about Athletic Greens. They use best of the best products based on the latest science with constant product iterations and third-party testing. So right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with the convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills or supplements to look out after your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. That's athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. And now, hopefully you guys do better at your bets than I did, because unfortunately, I wasn't able to cash out on my parlay. So let me tell you about FanDuel. So grand slams, no hitters, and double plays are back, and there's no better place to get in on the MLB action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. That's because right now, new customers get a step up to the plate with a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up, place your first bet, and get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. So I would take the over on Timo Meier hits, because if he's not scoring, if he's not getting assists, Timo Meier, he will rack up the hits, at least on the NHL side of things. So don't miss out on your chance to get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. FanDuel, official partner of MLB. Now, let's get back to our discussion with Jersey Joe as we break down this miserable Game 1 for the New Jersey Devils. Take it away once again. So, like I do with every episode for the final segment, we're going to compare these stats. Then we're going to give the Devils a letter grades and share some final thoughts. So, when looking at the shots on goal category between both respective teams, Devils led it actually 28-23. So despite getting off to a slow start in that department, the Devils were able to pick it up as the game progressed. Face-off percentage, Devils led that department 52% to 48%. Power play, Rangers were 2 for 3, Devils were 0 for 4. So that's what killed the Devils in my eyes. Their power play, atrocious. And their penalty kill, look, their penalty kill is supposed to be top 10. And I get that the Rangers are also good in special teams, but you gotta do better. That can't happen. Hits 32-30 in favor of the Rangers. Blocks 23-12 in favor of the Rangers. Giveaways, Devils led that department 13-3. So for the first time this season, during the 2022-2023 season, the Devils lost to the Rangers in regulation. So, Jersey Joe, what letter grade are you going to give the Devils in this one?
This sounds like a dirty word, but it begins with that letter.
D.
F.
Oh, F.
It's an F bomb.
It's an F bomb.
I kept it that way.
Okay.
They can email me whatever.
Okay.
Not you, me.
You. Okay. What would I give this step? I want to give him a D minus, but then again, there's not too many positive takeaways from this game other than Jack Hughes' penalty shot. I know Shesterkin is just, really good in nets. I know Fox had like 4 assists this game. Kreider had 2 power play goals. Yeah, I'm gonna have to give the Devils an F. I don't give them Fs too often, so if I give them an F,
that's the only time I ever give an F.
Yeah, because usually I try to be very lenient and give them like a D, or maybe if there's some positive takeaways, maybe a C minus. But in this case, after like the first period or the second period, Devils just had no momentum going their way. It just looked like it was one of their worst losses of the season, and they didn't even threaten the Rangers once.
Well, they couldn't even establish net presence rather. And when you can't get net front presence, that's bad because you're just allowing a goalie to get in rhythm. But if you get on top of him in game 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you can make him wet his pants and you can score more goals.
Okay, so Jersey Joe, the key takeaways in order for Devils to rebound and win game number 2 in a couple days, or I guess tomorrow when this episode goes live. Think about scratching Miles Wood. Get Curtis Lazar into the game. I say do not put Akira Schmidt in. Just leave Vitek Vanacek out there. Let Nico Hischier lead by example, and the Devils have to follow suit. Jack Hughes, be selfish, and try to get at least a couple shots on your power play, because you cannot go 0 for 4 with no shots. That's unacceptable. That's one of the worst.
More shots, the merrier.
Like I said, you got to figure something out, because that first goal that the Devils let up, the Rangers just the epitome of collapsing the defense. So, yeah, man, that's a long list. So power play improvement, get a shot, Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier, leave Vitek Vanacek in, get Curtis Lazar in, scratch Miles Wood. So, Jersey Joe, any final thoughts for this game 1 recap?
First off, stay strong on the puck. B, net front presence. C, get under the Rangers' skin. 4, screw Adam Fox. Get in his face. Beat him up. Do whatever you need to do. Ruffle Shesterkin. Get him as bad as you can. Wake him up. Get him out. Because you can't let him settle. You got to rough up all these other guys on top of their game. They think they have in the bag. Well, let's burst their bubble. And let's take it back on home ice. And let's beat them in their barn. Because it ain't over until the polka lady starts yodeling.
Yep, it is not over until the yodeling happens. And thank you for being politically correct, because I do not want to get canceled for an old phrase. But
no, you're not going to get canceled.
That's exactly what people who get canceled say. They're not going to get canceled. But anyway, we don't.
It would be me getting canceled.
Anyway, we don't. Anyway, for this game, yeah, it was an F performance. Welcome to the jungle. They got punched in the mouth. They got absolutely kicked in the groin. They Devils, I don't know what else to say. That it was just a unfriendly welcome to playoff hockey. And I just hope the Devils are able to rebound and win in 6, because I cannot stand some of these Rangers fans who are coming at me and basically saying I'm a clown or whatever the case might be. I'm just like, the Devils were
you want to know who's the clown?
What?
Keith Yandel and Dolan. They're both clowns. We weren't even supposed to be here.
Nope. And
this team has done so much this year that there's no way this team is clownish.
My thing is, like, the Devils have been the better team, and I said that Vitek Vanecek, if he's able to repeat what he did this year, come next year, I said he can maybe get his name into the running for the Vezina Trophy. It's already in the running this year, just not high kind of thing. It's not like he's out of the loop. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility, but that's just Ranger fans not really knowing Vitek Vanecek, the story behind the goaltending issue for Devils.
And I will say this: last year, if you looked at Linus Ullmark and Jeremy Swayman of Boston, their goals saved above expected average was right under 8.2. You know who has an 8.2 goals saved above average right now? Akira Schmid. And guess what? Those guys blossomed. And I wouldn't be surprised if Vanecek and Schmid pop next season in a positive light, because they're all learning to play under the Devil system. And this first game is just a learning curve. It's just a matter of them getting assimilated into playoff hockey with a couple really good veterans. It's just a matter of when they hit their stride.
And we'll definitely be on board for all that development. So, Jersey Joe, thank you for joining once again to give this recap, and we'll see what happens in game 2, man.
All right.